Hello my friends, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People, where people think that the world revolves around them and nobody else matters. Guys, this episode is incredible. There's 3 stories. You'll hear how an entitled person takes advantage of someone's special wedding day to pop a freaking proposal on someone's wedding day. The second story is how to scare away an entitled Karen. And we'll finish up with an entitled shopper that thinks people will pay for her groceries. I hope you guys stay for the stories today and subscribe for future videos. Let's dive in. This first story is titled, Proposing at People's Weddings is Not Okay. My mom and dad split up when I was 12, and I, for one, was happy that they were separated. They were not bad people, they just weren't the right people for each other. My dad still hasn't been remarried, though he's dating someone right now, and I don't really like her, but that's my dad's decision. My mom started dating a year after the divorce. She met my now stepfather. He had a son who I became quite close to, considering my biological brother went to live with my dad while I lived with my mom. So when my mom announced her wedding, we were all excited. So then, stepfather's son becomes my official stepbrother. Okay, we're done with backstory. On to the real story. My stepbrother and his girlfriend of 3 years were getting married. Now the girlfriend just happens to be my best friend, so I was extremely excited for them. I was chosen to be maid of honor, and my biological brother was the best man. We were all that close. My stepbrother's best friend, who we'll call A, was one of the groomsmen. Now, I never really liked A because he was a total creep and always tried to hit on me when my stepbrother wasn't there. Anyway, once he finally got a girlfriend, he stopped annoying me. So during the planning of the wedding, nothing crazy happened apart from the normal wedding stress. We invited almost everyone we knew and it was gonna be great, or so we thought. The big day arrives and everyone's ecstatic. The ceremony was beautiful and everything went great. Then the reception came. It was going great. Everyone was giving speeches and enjoying the food. Then, out of nowhere, A stands up and takes the mic and he says he has something important to say. We're all confused as he had finished his speech, but let him talk anyway. I wish we hadn't. He asked his girlfriend to come up to the table, and I already knew where this was going. He starts a speech on how much he loves her and how they were meant for each other and how he couldn't imagine life without her. Oh my goodness. Everyone at the wedding was cringing. We knew where all of this was going. Now she's smiling awkwardly. I think she didn't want this to happen now of all times. He then kneels down and pulls a ring out of his pocket, and you guessed it, he proposes, and she says yes. My best friend looked like she was gonna cry. Finally, my mom gets up to remind everyone that this was her son's wedding and that we should stop talking about someone else's engagement. You'd think there's no way this could get any worse, right? Well, it does. The girlfriend then starts screaming and crying, saying that my mom had ruined her special day. Then A began screaming at us too, complaining that he did nothing wrong. They got kicked out in the end. And my brother lost his best friend that day, but he didn't really care cause that idiot lost all of his friends. Guys, don't propose at someone's wedding. A should be glad that friends are all he lost that day, and he walked out of there alive. I'm pretty sure 99.9% of people out there would be pissed that their special day was forever ruined by someone else proposing and stealing the thunder. And now, for the rest of their lives, people's memories of their wedding day won't be how amazingly beautiful the bride looked, or how it was an amazing wedding. It's going to be, oh my god, you remember that wedding that so-and-so had, and then that guy proposed to his girlfriend and made it really awkward? So yeah, that's how it's gonna be remembered. Well done, entitled people. This next story's titled, How to Scare an Entitled Person. After a couple of weeks of not leaving my house and needing some groceries, I threw on an old baseball cap and ventured to my closest Costco. I donned my gloves and mask and sallied forth. Being early, the line to enter was short and I was able to get in, grab the stuff I needed, and get in line to check out. However, the line to check out was not short. The store had established 2 lines approaching the checkout tills. An employee would direct you to the next till open when you reached the front of the line. The end of the lines, however, stretched to the back of the store. I got in line and everybody was being nice and keeping the prescribed distance apart and were behaving in a civil manner. We chatted with each other and talked about the quarantine. But, of course, there's always that one person who just has to try to display dominance by pissing over everyone else. This one person in this case was Karen. There were about 3 people in front of me before reaching the front, where the employee would direct us to a cashier. Karen came along, looked back towards the back of the line, sighed dramatically, and pushed her giant Costco cart in front of the woman before me, making her next in line. The lady in front of me pointed out to her that the line started at the back of the store. Karen ignored her completely. A couple of others in line also called out to her that the line was back there, and Karen ignored them. Finally, the employee directing traffic came over and told her that she would have to move to the back of the line. Karen finally spoke and said, "I spend a lot of money here, and I'm in a hurry. What's one more person in front of them anyway? They've waited this long, they can wait a few minutes more." I watched this go down, and soon the employee was arguing with her, and I decided that it was my time to shine. Let my crazy flag fly. Now, I'm no shrinking violet, and I don't embarrass easily, so I thought, why not? I walked up next to the lady and just stared at her. I didn't say anything until she looked at me and said, "Hey, step back, you're too close." I looked at her and loudly said, "Do you like my shoes?" Karen, bless her heart, looked a little shocked. Before she could say anything, I struck again and said, "I like my shoes. Do you like my shoes?" I then did what my son tells me is my creepy laugh. Karen's eyes got a little wide, and I heard some snickers from some others in the line. I then said, "Can I go home with you and look at your shoes?" Now, Karen was baffled, speechless, with the look of terror in her eyes. At this, the employee once again said, "Ma'am, please go to the back of the line." In the end, Crazy won the day, and Karen left the line without saying a word to me and headed towards the back of the line, tail tucked. By now, some of the others were laughing, and some looked genuinely worried about the crazy lady in line with them. I just went back to my cart and said, "Well, sometimes you just gotta fight idiots with crazy." Everyone seemed to relax, and a couple of us chatted for the few minutes it took for us to reach the front of the line. I'll admit, most of the people who were in line with me who heard the altercation were looking at me a little bit funny, but hey, it's not like they could recognize me because of the ball cap and mask. Geez, I love freaking people out. Being old has its perks. I'm taking a page from OP's book, where she says, "Sometimes you have to fight idiots with crazy." The shoe thing made me laugh a little too hard the first time I read it though. Do you like my shoes? I like my shoes. Can I come home with you to look at your shoes? Oh, poor Karen. This last story's titled, Entitled Shopper Demands I Pay for Her Shopping When She Doesn't Want to Pay. This happened just an hour ago, and I'm laughing at the insanity and absurdity of the situation. So as everyone's painfully aware, there's a little situation going on in the world, and we're on lockdown, with the exception of going out for essential shopping. So some backstory. My Nan and I are close. She's the 5th member of our family, and she's elderly, disabled, and asthmatic, so she's high risk. Now, I'm severely asthmatic, and I probably shouldn't be going out shopping, but for my Nan, I'm willing to risk it. So I go out to do her grocery shopping. She gives me her shopping list, and I get what she needs and what's available. Anyway, on to the story. So like at most stores, there's markings to help with social distancing and keep people safe. So this entitled shopper started off by ramming me with her shopping cart while I was waiting to scan my items and pay, and was invading my personal space. Very rude. So I begin placing my items on the till, and she's just glaring at me for some reason and muttering to herself about slow people. I place the divider and go start bagging my items. As I'm bagging my items and about to pay, the cashier continues scanning strange items that I know I wasn't buying. I ask the cashier, "Hey, what's going on? Those aren't mine." The cashier's confused, saying there's no divider. I look up, and this entitled lady behind me has removed the divider, and now her items were being scanned and added to my bill. I tell the cashier, and she starts to remove the items and sort the mistake. And this is when the entitled shopper goes insane and says, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" I'm confused, and I tell her that her items were accidentally being scanned, and that I might have just forgotten to put the dividers between the groceries. I'm just saying this to keep non-confrontational. I don't want any trouble. She says, "Oh, did some of my items get scanned on your transaction? You need to pay for those items now." I'm just shocked and simply say, "What?" She glares at me and says, "My items were being scanned on your transaction, so you have to pay for them." I give the cashier a look, and I'm absolutely gobsmacked. I said, "What makes you think I'm gonna pay for your stuff?" She scoffs and continues on about how since it's a mistake, it means that I have to pay for the items already scanned. I pay for my items, and she still stood there, waiting for me to pay for her shopping. I begin to walk away, and she screams for me to come back. People are now staring, so I turn and say, "Lady, I don't know you, and I don't have to pay for your stuff for any reason." She then screams for security and feeds them some lie about me having to pay for her shopping. He called me over to ask what's happening, and I told him. She then went on admitting that she removed the divider, thinking that I wouldn't notice and I'd have to pay for her. Thankfully, the security guard just looked at her and told her the same thing I said, and I didn't have to. As I began walking away, she was screaming at the cashier saying she didn't have any cash or cards on her to pay and was demanding them to honor the scanning mistake. I left before scanning anything else, so I don't know how it ended, but this woman thought she was entitled to the little scanning mistake, and I had to pay for it. Honestly, how can you be so stupid to not bring any means of paying for shopping? I really wonder how many times this has actually worked. And that, my friends, brings us to an end of today's episode of r/Entitled People. If you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any crazy Entitled People stories in the future. See you guys in the next one.